What's up, Anchor peeps and Marvel fans? I am Anchor Pete, and I'm here with my good friend Brian. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good, Pete.
Awesome. We are here today to talk about the first MCU TV show, WandaVision. Now, so far, as of recording this, there's only been 3 episodes of WandaVision. So Brian and I are going to talk about the show. We might go into spoilers eventually, but at first, we're just going to talk about what we thought about it. So right off the bat, right out the door, is it living up to your expectations?
So far, yes. However, we've only seen the 3 out of, what is it, 8 or 9? I don't remember the total number.
There's 9.
And it has the potential to meet my expectations, or exceed them, or not. But how it's going so far, as much as I've seen, the teases we've seen for what's the actual story is about, I'm really enjoying it. I have some high hopes, but it remains to be seen if they'll stick the landing.
Yes, very good point. I like to look up the behind the scenes and like to see who's involved in these things. And it was interesting when I looked this up. The showrunner's name is Jack Schaefer, right? And I thought that was a guy, but it's a woman, right?
Okay.
And just so you know, she made a movie called Timer, which came out in 2009. I don't know what that is, that movie. But she also co-wrote Captain Marvel, and she was working on the Black Widow movie. She wrote the initial treatment for it, and then they brought in other writers afterwards, but she wrote the initial Black Widow movie.
So keeping it all in the family.
Yes. Like very clearly, right up front, we know that she writes movies that are essentially about women pretty much most of the time. And she's written stuff about female Marvel characters. So in a way, like cinematically, or she's like, kind of like a Kelly Sue DeConnick or like a Kelly Thompson, where they're like, they can write all the characters, but like they really do a great job writing the female characters, female Avengers. So my friend Mike, my good friend Mike, he goes to see Marvel movies with me, but he's not like us. He doesn't read the comics, right? He sends me a text last night. He says, what is this show, WandaVision? Like, I don't understand what's going on. So I tried to give him a summary from the comics. And I think that if you and I explain which comics this connects to, I don't think we're going to be giving away spoilers. Would you want to go into like what comics inspired this show?
So I think although I haven't read one of the series, I mean, there was a 1980s series that was Scarlet Witch and Vision. That's the one I haven't read. And then I feel this is also sort of inspired by the more recent Vision miniseries, maxi series by Tom King.
Yeah,
which I love so much.
Yeah.
So where basically Vision is, living in a suburban area, trying to, and he creates a wife and 2 kids that are also synthezoids like he is, and stuff goes down.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because that comic, I feel like the imagery of that comic is a huge influence on this show. I feel like they saw that comic and they're like, oh, we have to make that into a show or a movie somehow.
Yes.
And when you look at the imagery from that comic, you'll see it's Vision wearing like a button-down shirt and like a sweater over it, and he's in a suburban house and he's waving to people. And I feel like that's what they're going for with this show, WandaVision.
Yes, at least visually, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that might be a reference to is House of M. And I'd explain this to SHARI too, which is that, like, if you're new to comics, this kind of shit is like, it gets real weird real quick, right?
Yes.
And so in the comics, this might be a little bit of a spoiler for the show, but in the comics, Scarlet Witch falls in love with Vision. And Scarlet Witch in the comics does have some mental health issues. Her father is Magneto and her brother is Quicksilver. In the MCU, we've seen, Pietro, that's Quicksilver, but there's no Magneto in the MCU yet. Scarlet Witch and the Vision had kids, because Scarlet Witch's powers in the comics is that she can literally manipulate reality.
Yes.
And so even though Vision is a robot and she's a human, they were able to have 2 twins. And that's what we're seeing on this show now. Yes. And so, Brian, I was going to ask you, their kids grow up in the comics. Are their kids Tommy and Billy?
Yes, that would be Wiccan, and I believe is his codename Speed?
His codename Speed, yeah.
I never remember that, because he came into like the Young Avengers comic a little later, and then but yeah, that's him.
yeah. So Brian just mentioned Young Avengers, and the thing is with Young Avengers, that's what I think that the MCU is kind of going towards right now. And Scarlet Witch and Vision's kids eventually grow up. And one of them is a speedster that lets like Quicksilver, his name's Speed, like you just said. And the other one is like a male version of Scarlet Witch where he has magical kind of powers. His name's Wiccan. It's all this like mythology that we eat up. It's just this great stuff. And it's cool to see it in a show. I guess the question is, do you like the way that they are presenting it?
Yes, they're slowly kind of rolling everybody out, for Young Avengers. I don't know if Young Avengers will be like a major focus, but they're definitely going to bring them together at some point. Maybe they'll have their own movie, maybe they'll have their own show. I don't know, but obviously we know that Kate Bishop is in the Hawkeye TV show. We know Cassie Lang is out there; she's already been in the movies. They just recast her with someone who's a little more well known, I suppose. So I imagine that means that they're gonna do something with these characters. We know that Patriot's coming, rumored to be coming in Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we'll see in March or so.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. Okay.
So that really just leaves Iron Lad and Hulkling yet to be kind of determined. But since we also know that that's kind of a spoiler if I say one thing, there's another character we know is coming that might be a spoiler that could also signal the coming of one of those characters at least.
Let's spoil it. Go ahead.
All right. So Kang, we know Kang is coming.
Yeah.
And Iron Lad is a young version of Kang who's come back in time to avert some crisis.
Yeah.
So that really just Hulkling is the only thing I don't think there's been much said about.
Yeah.
But we have the Secret Invasion show.
Yeah.
Center around the Skrulls at least. So maybe he could show up there. Who knows? Just
seeing the Marvel crawl at the beginning when it does like the flipping pages and stuff, that got me a nice little feeling of, oh, it's back, But I think I could understand why some people are like, what the hell is going on? I could also understand why some people are like, I'm not into this. But for me, for the show, I think the thing that I like the most is not actually something that's connected to the comics. I actually really like that each episode is like an episode of an old sitcom.
Yes.
Like that's the part that's the most exciting to me, is that they're able, it feels like it could totally just be a sitcom that you watch and then like,
yeah,
it has little.
I totally agree. If you just sliced out the little foreshadowings and the serious moments, like I would happily watch this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one, I got maybe this is more just the telltale sign from the intro of the first episode, but I got Dick Van Dyke out of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Second one, I also maybe more from the intro, but I got Bewitched.
Yes, yes.
And I also felt a little Bewitched in the beginning of the first one too, which is doing the moving all the dishes and all that all over the place. And then the third one, I actually do agree that with Brady Bunch. And it's weird because it's like there's really only two characters and in the show, but they tried to do that multiple face thing in the intro.
Yeah.
And, honestly, the thing that gave me the most Brady Bunch vibe of it is the stairs. While it's not placed the same way as in the Brady Bunch house, it's the same kind of stairs where it's just like wooden planks and on the thing. I'm like, that's the Brady Bunch stairs.
Yes.
Way.
I actually didn't really watch the Dick Van Dyke Show when I was growing up, so that's probably why.
I didn't watch it much either, but the only thing, the big telltale clue of that was in the Dick Van Dyke intro is him tripping over like a footstool.
Okay.
And this time Vision's carrying Scarlet Witch, but he phases through it rather than tripping over it. So
so clever.
I just enjoyed that nod.
Yes, so clever. There's not much of the story we can go into without going to the spoilers. So
yes.
So I think like from now on, it's spoilers. If you haven't watched WandaVision, go watch it on Disney Plus. But let's talk about like the bigger picture then, and like what we're seeing besides this sitcom stuff.
Yeah.
So I think right off with spoilers, first off, the thing that stands out to me is that there's like a sword symbol that's come up.
Sword symbol is logo has popped up quite a bit.
So for people like Mike, S.W.O.R.D is an organization like S.H.I.E.L.D. Marvel has all these like covert operations. There's S.H.I.E.L.D., there's S.W.O.R.D. There's one that's called Hammer. That's like when bad guys kind of take over. They have their own version of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's another one that's like multiple dimensions. I can't remember what weapon it is, but they're all like medieval weapons.
Yeah.
Okay.
S.W.O.R.D is basically shield for space. They're in charge of shield is in charge of protecting the Earth and from internal threats or other threats on the planet, and S.W.O.R.D is responsible for protecting it from extraterrestrial threats.
Yes.
They have this big space station in or outside the in Earth's orbit, and that's their home base.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll necessarily get that in this show. I think they probably might change that a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, the symbol has obviously very clearly been in every episode many times.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me wonder because it's like, how are they going to handle this? Because for spoilers, it seems to me like Wanda has created like a bubble. The people inside of the bubble might be real, they might not be, but she's like remade Vision, and there are people that are like monitoring her and even trying to like go in and talk to her. But it's like, what does this have to do with extraterrestrials? If it's S.W.O.R.D, and is it just going to be like, oh, we're not S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore, we're a new organization called S.W.O.R.D, and we deal with all kinds of threats? Like, I don't see the connection with outer space at all.
Yeah, I agree. I although maybe you can make it, you can twist it to be sort of reality based, like it's a different reality or alternate reality, and that's the closest you'll get to space. But you're right. I think this is going to be some kind of morphed, evolved version of S.H.I.E.L.D, and it's going to be some different people or some different. You know, it's not going to be the same people as S.H.I.E.L.D. It's going to be something different.
So one person that's in the show that my wife is actually excited about, I think it's what made her ask me about the show in the first place, is Katherine Hahn, right? Now, Katherine Hahn plays Agnes. Now, I've seen like a bunch of YouTube videos pointing out like who she could be. Do you have any theories about her?
Yes, Agatha Harkness.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. That's done.
Pretty much. I mean, and she's very related to raising Wanda and Pietro on Wendigo Mountain, which also ties in with the Magneto backstory. So there was another tell with her, the rabbit she had. I don't remember the name, but that was something, and I can't remember exactly what it was. But I'm like 99.9% sure that that's Agatha Harkness.
Okay, cool. Okay. Was she like a witch or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe like when she comes in, she'll explain to Wanda that she has her powers like allow her to do witchcraft or something. You know, I don't know. Like, I guess my question is like, are the people in the town constructs that she made, or are they legitimate people that are there?
That's such a hard thing to tell. I mean, some people, I don't know. Some people seem to be uneasy at times, where they seem like they're being controlled, or they seem foggy or something. So that could lean to that Wanda's losing the control, and they're kind of starting the fog is starting to lift, and they're trying to like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Or it could be that they are actually constructs, and they're just, because she's not in full control, that they're also just not fully there.
Okay.
So, but I feel like Agnes is someone that's operating on her own free will in this little bubble, at the very least. But you know, the Vision's coworkers and the other neighbors and stuff like that, that's to be decided.
Yeah. I love all the little, like, when the Vision drops like a little joke of like, oh, I actually do have nerves of steel. Like, he makes all these references to being a robot. I love that kind of stuff.
Honestly, like, Paul Bettany is so great in the sitcom role.
I know. Dude, I hope that he's like actually going to be able to come back, you know?
I same here, absolutely.
Yeah. What'll be real interesting too, like, because in the comics, what happens is the Vision, he's all red and cool looking the way he does in Age of Ultron and in the show. But at one point, he has like this white kind of costume, or like his appearance is white. And I think that maybe Marvel might end up going with that, and might be like that if he ever does come back, he's just going to be like an emotionless.
Yeah. So when the comics, that was when he died and was rebuilt, I believe, without whatever stone he had. Is it the Mind Stone? It doesn't, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then that also kind of signified the end of the Vision and Scarlet Witch relationship as well.
Yeah.
Because he was now emotionless and didn't remember anything from the past.
Yeah. And maybe like when we get towards the end of the season, maybe they'll have like a flashback of what like led to this situation. And maybe it'll be that like people tried to recreate the Vision, and that's what made her have a nervous breakdown, and she changed reality. You know?
Yeah, that could be it. But this could go a lot of ways. Like we know that Scarlet Witch is going to be in a movie in the next Doctor Strange movie, in the Multiverse of Madness. So we know multiverses are on the table. We don't know exactly who the villain will be there. It could be Dormammu again. It could be Mephisto. And I've heard references of people thinking that Mephisto could be involved here.
Yeah.
But we also have S.W.O.R.D involved, and they kind of reference AIM a little bit with the beekeeper outfit sort of thing. Yeah. I feel like this is more Wanda altered reality, and somebody's trying to, and I can't tell if somebody was trying to make her do it, or she did it and she's being monitored, or because there's that voice on that radio from the second episode that says, "Wanda, who is doing this to you?"
Yes.
And I don't know who that is, although I think like this morning or yesterday I thought like, oh, maybe it's this person, and I've completely forgotten that thought.
Well, do you think it's Doctor Strange?
That was it, actually. Yes, Doctor Strange. So, yes, I'm thinking it's Doctor Strange, and the evidence to support that is kind of vague as well. But in this most recent episode, you saw some butterflies.
Yeah.
And so I read an article about this that I've only really watched the Doctor Strange movie, and I didn't even see it in the theater once or twice.
Yeah.
But as he's being introduced to the mystic arts, butterflies play a bit of a role. And even in the final scene, he turns something into a bunch of green butterflies. So some people think that it is Doctor Strange trying to reach out to her to see what's going on. So we don't know if something is controlling Wanda. Wanda's doing this on her own and kind of going off kilter. So it's really ultimately, it could be anything.
Yeah. So here's my little fan fiction, and let's see if it becomes as good as this show. This fan fiction is based entirely on the conversation you and I are having right now. I think that in the aftermath of Endgame, they rebuild the Vision, and they take Wanda to go see him, and she sees that he's like this automaton, doesn't have any emotion, he's white, right? And she gets real frustrated, and she started this dialogue with Agatha Harkness, right? Am I saying her name right? All right. And Agatha Harkness is starting to push her because Agatha Harkness is Mephisto's like disciple.
Yes.
And she's making Wanda kind of go nuts and build all this shit. And Wanda, to essentially justify Vision being back and her happiness, she keeps tweaking reality. That's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've clearly seen that she's actively doing this, because every time something happens that she doesn't like, she kind of rolls it back and it's all happy and smiles again.
Yeah. Very good point. So if it's something along those lines, I will be very satisfied with this. And if there's a way to like kind of tie Mephisto into the Doctor Strange movie, I think that'd be great too.
Yeah.
I guess just one last thing too about this. Like, did you like the Ultron reference in the third episode?
Yes, absolutely. It's always great when they do callbacks to previous things, and you honestly see the emotion on her. I mean, because really, they haven't ever really shown her react to his death. Especially, I mean, maybe there was a little bit in the end of Age of Ultron, but since then, it's like he didn't exist. Like I forget that he was there sometimes. Because I mean, Age of Ultron is more in the middle to lower end of the Marvel movies overall.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see her having a reaction to her brother that it's otherwise seems like she forgot about.
Yeah. And her accents like kind of came back too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was digging that. She started singing some kind of Sokovian thing. Yeah, they like really started to like reference Age of Ultron. I was into that, man.
I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I'm interested to see they're clearly evolving themselves through the other ages of sitcoms. So I mean, I'm sure we'll see some more 70s or 80s based stuff. I know they're going to hit us with a Modern Family type episode at some point as well.
Oh, really?
I'm looking forward to seeing all of that.
Yeah.
Coming up.
I wonder like if there'll be like a stinger for this at the very end, like when the show is done, and then like what's it going to tie into? You know, what I was thinking was that the stinger might be that maybe she loses the kids when the show is over, but then they show like the kids grown up somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like that could be the
I
stinger.
think the kids have to exist at the end of this. I think.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't know if Vision will or not,
right.
but I think the kids should stick around in some capacity, and it has to. I'm assuming this will mostly lead into Doctor Strange too. So the thing I'm most curious about these shows is that are they going to come back for second seasons, or are these kind of like one and done?
Yeah.
I feel like this show, it kind of has to be a one and done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I can't think of any of them could be more than one and done so far. I mean, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, we don't really know what it's about exactly yet, so who knows? But so yeah, do these shows come back for subsequent seasons, or are they just going to keep going as one-offs? You know, as to kind of filler between movies.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like the filler, and I think it's really essentially like, oh well, this would be a movie, but we're gonna, pull it out a little, drag it out a little bit more, and it's a show now. You know?
Yeah. Like Hawkeye, I read today. Hawkeye was originally developed as a movie, but
Yeah.
thankfully, and I think we'll both agree on this, that it makes more sense for it to be a TV show.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where limited series in comics come from, right? In the first place, is that like you had the main characters that everyone would follow, like the Avengers and Hulk and Spider-Man, but when they would want to try somebody out, they would just give them a limited series. And I feel like these are kind of more like limited series, and the movies are like the ongoing series.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's 9 episodes altogether. Maybe Brian and I can get together every 3 episodes and give you our thoughts. And yeah. And besides that, Brian and I also are about to record an episode where we talk about Transformers, War for Cybertron, Earthrise. So if you're Marvel fans, if you are Transformers fans, definitely keep checking out this channel. But Brian, as always, thanks so much for joining me, man.
Anytime, Pete.